I'm joined by Adarsh Sinha. He is head of Asia Pacific G10 Foreign Exchange Strategy at Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. Well, good to see you, Adarsh. So let's start out with the ECB. What do you expect to hear from Jean-Claude Trichet this afternoon? Is he going to signal a pause in hikes next?
Hi, good morning. Yes, certainly, as you said, a 25 basis point hike is expected, but I think given the recent softening in data, as well as the very obvious peripheral issues, I do think it's quite likely that he will signal a pause in the tightening cycle. And I think indeed for the rest of the year, we expect fairly gradual rate rises by the ECB.
Okay, so he's going to pause for a period.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to leave it fairly open-ended. I think in this case for the ECB, a pause is probably going to be a quarter, but obviously no pre-commitment, as Trichet always says.
Right.
But in our view, another rate hike will come before the end of the year.
Would that be a mistake? I mean, is today's expected rate hike a mistake, given the circumstances here in the European Union with the debt crisis?
I think that'll take hours to debate, really, and opinion is very divided on that. I suppose my personal view is that, to some extent, a bit of caution could be warranted, so I don't really see the need to hike rates at today's meeting, particularly given the volatility across markets and the worries about not just Greece, but some of the other countries as well. But obviously the ECB has a very strong inflation mandate and they're sticking to that. So in a way, I guess they're justified with the decision if they do choose to raise interest rates today by 25 basis points.
My colleague Mark and I have just been talking about a gentleman who's been the best performing government debt fund manager over the last decade, Sandor Steverink. He says he's going to buy Irish debt once it's junked. He predicts that it's going to be junked. And he wants to do this because he wants to be in a good position, because he says you'll get a full recovery once all of this is come through, once they've restructured the debt across Europe. What's the long-term view for the euro? Is it going to move up significantly once this thing this crisis has been finally resolved?
Well, certainly if the crisis is resolved, the euro should be higher on a trade-weighted basis than it is now. But I think the resolution of the crisis itself will probably lead to a lower euro first before it leads to a higher euro. And that's largely just because of the uncertainty surrounding the fact that if you did get a restructuring, what would the spillovers be, what would the contagion be, and obviously people asking the ultimate question, is there a risk of a country actually leaving the Eurozone? Obviously, I don't think any of this is likely to happen over the medium term, and I'd probably agree that over time, Europe can get out of this crisis, but I think it's going to be a very painful adjustment process during which the euro would actually head lower before it goes much higher.
Just very quickly, Adarsh, your top trade today?
That's a good question. I think a good trade right now in the very short term leading up to the Eurogroup meeting on Monday, and that includes today as well, is to be short the euro against a basket of currencies. I think the market is slowly factoring in the risk that come Monday, we aren't going to see a particularly decisive solution in terms of additional further aid for Greece. And I think at the same time today Trichet is going to be unwavering in terms of the ECB stance that they will not accept any debt that's been rated default. And certainly that's going to add to the uncertainty, add to the volatility in markets.
Adarsh Sinha for Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, thanks very much.